we again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, just plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
It's tea time with Benny and Paul.
Alrighty. I actually forgot to advertise on Instagram, but we do have at least 17 people watching.
Woohoo, 21.
Oh, 21. Okay, we're up to 21. Guess what? Windsurfing.TV has already said the moin. So yes, we are in. What are we going to talk about today? Well, actually, we've been having a chat, and it's something very topical, which we're going to talk about, because obviously, if you've been following the channel, I've just been to the Defi Wind, the biggest windsurfing event in the world. And, I've been dropping a few videos. There's a lot of videos coming out. We're going to drop pretty much one a day for the next 2 weeks. Got lots of brand videos, brands videos, van videos, action videos. You've seen the action video. But I dropped the action video, trying to cut a long story short here. And there was a comment which kind of, to sum it up, kind of said, yeah, I'm not sure the Defi Wind's going the right direction. I think it's going towards more the pros and whatever, and not towards the amateurs. And he had a couple of points. I'm going to address those points on the podcast, but also it made me think, how about we have a podcast and we talk about what makes the perfect event? What do you guys at home, what makes you want to go to an event? What makes you enjoy viewing an event from the outside point? Maybe you're never going to go to an event, but you like watching them. Maybe we should try and kind of get a bit of an idea of priorities, where they stack in the list. And why is it topical? Well, Mr. Paul Van Bellen is also organizing an event in WA called the Wave Rally World Championships, which will probably be happening next January. We've got Maciek Rakowski, who is also organising an event in a couple of weeks in Poland called King of the Bay. So I think there feels like there is a few people putting it on the line, and stepping up. Because for me, I've always said, from a rider's point of view, we need organisers. These are a dying breed. To organise and to step up and to organise a windsurfing event, which relies on wind, and you cannot guarantee the weather, as we know, takes a serious amount of passion and effort for our sport. But I do believe, when I go to places like the Defi and I see all the brands there, I think it is much needed. So that's my spiel. Mr. Van Bellen, all good?
Yeah. So what was the general vibe? I mean, obviously we all saw your videos. There's, I've never been, but you see the video and there's marquees and flags and people everywhere. But what is there? Could you sort of sum up a general vibe with people there? Are they happy with, like, for example, the Defi? Are people leaving that event feeling inspired? Are they fired up? Is it
okay? Let's just address the comment that I had on my action video. Again, it wasn't a negative comment. I can say, I think the guy's name was Felix. He was just expressing maybe something he felt, and I can kind of address why this happened. So, it's a big event, the Defi Wind, which is a 4-day event: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Before that, now, because it's grown even more, they've got a wing event, which I'm not sure how many days that is. And before that, they have a kite event. So they're separate events. Windsurfing starts on the Thursday. Now, this year, the forecast for before the windsurfing event was amazing. Like, super windy every day. Obviously, people who've been following me will know my van broke down. I missed the one day. I managed to get there for the windy day, which was before the comp. Now, for people who don't know, and again, it is a sort of thing that people don't really care about usually, because there's always wind in the event. But usually the day before the competition, they do a practice start. Now, this, again, I'm not speaking totally because I'm not an organizer and I've never done it, but this is what I've heard. And if I have got any of this wrong, please let me know in the comments. But basically, they do have some coaches doing like this VIP treatment, where I know Vorenberg Patrick Ryder, and he's won the Defi quite a few times, has taken on some French guys before, and he tries to teach them the course, teach them the tactics, how to start. And they've put on this sort of practice start for the organizers, because before there wasn't the wing event, there wasn't the kite event, and it was kind of like, let's make sure everything's working, whatever. And they do this little start and give these guys a little chance to sail the course before the main event, because you can imagine it's a big deal. Obviously less riders, blah, blah, blah. So this year, this practice start was pretty much the race. If anyone's seen my action video, this was like classed as the practice race, but it wasn't announced anywhere because they haven't done the safety briefing. This is my interpretation of why it wasn't, properly announced, because, everyone hadn't registered at that point. I'm guessing, the liabilities in case something goes wrong, and usually it's not a big deal. But also this year, if you've been following social media, you will know that the Surf Center, which is a big Dutch windsurfing shop, had 60 to 70 kind of VIP guests who had paid a bit more to get some coaching from Blanca Alabau, Jordi Vonk, Nico Preen, and get some run-in of how the event works. And there's lots of stuff, like extra stuff. And they were going to obviously do this practice start, which should have been about 70 of them on the start line. Usually a couple of pros line up, and that's kind of how it is. It's never a big deal. But this year, obviously, with the forecast, word gets around that they're going to do this practice start, sail the course, that's and it just turned into like a turbo fest, and there was like 500-600 people lining up, and I personally didn't really know the timings. I managed to get a sort of an idea. I saw someone put their hand up on the boat. I started my watch and then kind of worked out when everyone was moving, well, we've probably got about this much time. And then, I just looked for the closest zero to where everyone was lining up, and that worked out great. But again, I think there was a few people, obviously amateur sailors, who weren't talking to any of the pro riders, who weren't in a group like with the Surf Center, who didn't know this and maybe hadn't heard. Maybe they were sailing when this stuff went round. So obviously those guys kind of missed out this year because of the way the wind was on the actual racing Defi wind experience. And if you slow the video down, if you look at my video, in the first 10 seconds of my action video, you will notice there is two guys, one in particular, Stephen from Ireland, going the wrong way on the start because he was obviously out there sailing, having a great time, and was sailing back to the beach and went, oh, what's all those guys lining up? Literally, if you watch the video, it is friggin' bonkers, man. He is going like next to the boat through the middle of the mayhem. It's you've got it. Okay, good. I didn't think we could play it, but yeah, good point. For anyone listening audio only, right, stop. Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'll go back.
That was the clip.
Hold on, let me go back.
It's pretty mad, man. It's absolutely mad. Like, you imagine his face, and I saw him. I got a story about this actually. Stop. If you can.
So it's here.
Yes, there.
This is the talking about.
So he's going towards this. This isn't the full Defi wind start. Again, probably 500, maybe less, maybe a couple of hundred. It's not the full Defi, but you've got a real good idea. So funnily enough, I'm telling this story at dinner on the Sunday night. Most people have left. We got Patrice Belbiot. We've got Chris, the Oyster Man. If everyone's ever been to the Defi, you get all these oysters handed out. Chris, absolute legend, funny as hell. Got Thomas Pearson from Simmer, Alfie, obviously cameraman. And we were telling this story about, we spoke to Oisin van Gelden from Ireland. And he had told us, oh, man, we just spoke to one of the guys coming from Ireland, and he's had an absolute trauma. It's like he didn't know what was happening, went straight for it. Anyway, I'm telling this story. About 5 minutes later, I'm listening to the guys on the table next to us, and I'm picking up this Irish accent. And I'm like, it can't be, surely. And then I'm thinking, there's not many Irish guys at the event. So we're talking, and then I'm like, we've got to go and ask. So we obviously go and ask. It's him, obviously. And they listened to me tell the story. It was just like you couldn't make it up. So Stephen from Ireland definitely should get a prize, because I mean, that must have been, that is an experience in itself, going the opposite way on a Defi wind.
So anyway, so obviously this created a bit of a controversy, did it, within the
not that I knew. Not that anyone I spoke to.
It wasn't obvious.
I didn't hear any complaints or moaning. But again, I am doing the media. I'm running around, you know, for Windsurfing.TV. We're doing brands. Like, for me, the Deafy Wind is super hectic. And I have to say, I met some absolute legends. And we've spoke about it before, when you get those emails of people saying, I've got back into windsurfing from watching your videos, you know, and I get that a lot as well. And then at the Deafy, I get the added thing to see them in real life. And people come up to me, go, I'm doing this event because watching your video. You know, last year, or it motivated me.
I was watching your first videos when you sort of strolled into the event and people are coming up to you, you know, like a celebrity. And I thought, Ben's going to be loving this. How is the Deafy?
What I will do, I mean, obviously it boosts your ego a bit, but genuinely, this, honestly, that awesome, is massive motivation. Like, you know what it's like. It's not an easy world, like earning money in windsurfing. I mean, obviously that's what I'm trying to do, create a living out of it. But so you do need extra motivation. And the extra motivation for me is hearing those, you know, getting the emails, getting the comments. But when you meet people in real life and you can see on their face, they genuinely follow all the videos on the channel, you genuinely motivated them. For me, that's massive. So, awesome. You know, I got to say, massive thanks to everyone who's chipping in the beer money and the brands that support the channel. You're going to see, like I say, a video every day for the next couple of weeks. And that is because you guys are supporting it. You know, without that, the motivation to go and do it, it's not viable. You know, the Deafy Wind are not paying me a fortune to go. They're paying expenses, you know, and then we're doing this because of you guys at home. So anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. But
no, it's a good point, Benny. I was going to say, I've had a taste of it. I mean, you're a lot more recognizable than I am through your years and years and years of promoting windsurfing. But even here in Geraldton, I get the odd person that comes up to me and says, oh, you know, I've been watching your videos and this and that. And they sometimes say, oh, because of that, I've kind of gotten back into windsurfing, or I've bought some new gear. And it is true that what you said about, for me, motivating, because when I get that feedback, I'm like, oh, there are people watching this that are benefiting from it. And then you think, oh, I'll just keep going. You are right, because there's basically no money doing it.
It's hard to explain, isn't it? And it might sound a bit.
No, it is cool. It's cool.
But it's definitely true. And I know that from speaking to all the YouTubers or guys who make video, or coaches, windsurfing coaches, you know, anyone who sort of makes that difference, that feedback is huge. Right.
And cool. Anyway.
Okay, so let's talk about events. So that was me trying to address that, obviously, that comment on the video. But what I want to do is hear from any of you guys out there. And I know there's a lot of French guys that go to the Deafy, and maybe their English isn't good and they're not going to message. But for any one of you out there, if you went to the Deafy, you're watching this, or you've been before, let us know in the comments the good things, maybe the things that could be improved, what you would like to see different. And then also from the guys watching from the outside. You know, obviously I'm the main commentator for a lot of the live streams. But I am the first to say you don't always need a live stream. You know, at certain events, I think if you've got the money, yes, 100%, let's do it. But is that the priority over a well-made video? We've shot a lot of stuff in the Deafy, basically because I couldn't get the phone to work and do live streams. But actually, we shot it as live, you know, so you just pretend it's live. You don't have any cuts or anything. You just go around as if it's normal. But then you're uploading it when you want, and you can then maybe polish it a bit in terms of the quality will be better. And maybe it's gone down better. I don't know. So I genuinely want to hear you guys at home. Paul's got an event that he's trying to plan at the moment. And obviously you have to prioritize certain things because you don't always get the budgets. Speaking to Maciek, King of the Bay, in a couple of weeks in Poland. Again, you've got to prioritize certain things and think, okay, what do the people want? You know, light wind alternative activities, for example. Do we need them? What do the amateurs? Are the pros essential? How many do you need? Do you need the pros? Should it be more amateur based? Like, lots of thoughts would be super interesting, because there's not a pure science to this. Everyone will have different opinions. The money's not endless. And again, I just know what we do need to do is encourage organizers, not discourage them. You know, I wrote in one of the comments on YouTube, it's like, I've grown up where events have changed. You know, back in the day, you were like, right, let's do an event. Fuck it, you know, and, you know, okay, it was a bit loose but there wasn't all these liability issues. It wasn't like some guy going into McDonald's, burning himself on a coffee and suing McDonald's because it was too hot. You're like, how is that possible? If you fall off a cliff, oh, I'm going to sue someone because there wasn't a fence there. It's like, come on. Like, if you enter the Death You Wind or any event for me, you are entering something that is an extreme event. You are putting stuff on the line. Stuff can happen. And I think everyone has to be aware of that. If you enter a speed event and you crash, you know, you're not going to be suing the organizer. You better not be, because that's part of the game. We cannot make it hard work for these organizers, but equally, we don't want them totally skimming it off top and not putting it back into where it counts. I don't think that's happening. I'm just saying, you know, and don't get me wrong, if there's, let's say, something under the water and they know about it and they don't tell you or they don't warn you, okay, maybe there's some sort of room there for something. But we have to bear in mind, you know, sandbanks, for example, happen in windsurf. They pop up all over the place. This is very difficult to find out. So anyway, that's just my thoughts. I kind of want to open the floor to you, Paul, because you've got an event coming up, and mainly the guys at home.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just wanted to talk about what you said, whether or not you should do live stream or the edited sort of videos afterwards. I personally, this is just me, I think the post videos were better because the quality is better. You know, that's one of the problems with live stream. Sometimes it gets a bit grainy. I don't need to see you walking around an event village in live. Yeah. If I get it 24 hours after, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Yeah.
I would just prefer to have better quality image than something grainy. It looks better, and that way you can just sort of drip feed rather than do one big sort of long thing. You can just cut it up into pieces, which is probably easier to digest rather than watching a 1 hour video where you talk to 10 different brands or something. You can just cut it up into pieces. So that's just me. Maybe someone else has got a better, you know, has a different opinion. But, no, but I was completely satisfied.
After doing it like that this year, and just for people who, you know, as almost a promo for what's coming on the channel, man, some of the stuff we have done coming up, like with Monty Spindler from Loft, you know, been in the game a long time, ART, Patrick Detalm, Patrice Belbiot from Exocet, you know, those little sections where we've gone through the stand and looked around the gear have almost, well, they haven't almost, they've turned into mini podcasts. So it's more like we're getting little bits and insights and stories as well as having a look through the gear. So, you know, let's say, I don't know, maybe you might not be interested in Loft or something, but watch the video. Patrice, you know, Patrice Belbiot from Exocet, man, there's some really cool little insights in these. You know, maybe you're not looking for gear at the moment, but I tell you, watch the videos. They're really interesting and some really cool stuff, like I said, coming up.
And then you also mentioned about, you know, does it matter having pros, amateurs? I love both. I love I love it when you go around and you just meet random people. I think it's great to hear what people have to say. And then also the pros, of course, because they're the driving force behind so much of the development of the gear, and they're the experts in understanding the equipment. So hearing from both, I think, is a perfect mix. But yeah, you find some gems out there, don't you, when you walk around the village? You know, I actually noticed there's quite a lot of Dutchies. Because they didn't always tell you they were Dutch, but I know their accents. And, you know, half the people you spoke to are Dutch. They're really into it.
Okay. So on this next video we're going to drop, which is like the part 2. So there's a part 2 of walking around the event site. You've seen like a bit of it already. I was just looking at Alfie's edit, which we're about to put out there. So the first bit is a kind of a video you've seen already, but it's without the interviewee bits, just to run into this next bit of the film. But the one guy on the beach when we were doing the fun races and stuff, this Dutch guy, and he said 30% of the guys who enter were Dutch. And I'm like, my initial reaction
okay.
is,
Wow.
that can't be true because there's 1,500 people. That'd be too many. But maybe he meant 30% of the fundraise or 30% of the guy, you know. But whatever. The one thing is for sure, there's a lot of Dutch. That is for sure. And they are all massive. Like I had so many people come up to me, but the Dutchies, I can spot them a mile away because it's like land of the giants coming. I'm like, you're already hurting. There's like 5 of them, all of them.
They're all bloody tall, aren't they?
And they're massive.
Yeah. I think. Have you ever done have you taken your Windsurf.TV channel up to the Netherlands? Have you done anything up there?
They did ask me that when you come into the Netherlands, and I did say never. But that's not true.
Yeah,
it's you know, for me, again, it's all about justifying stuff, which is why I do Windsurfing.TV alongside the commentary, alongside the coaching, because I can justify it all in that thing. If I just did one of them, it's impossible. I have to get a proper job. So like we're going to Holland, it's like I'm going to Poland for Matchek's thing. But I can justify it because I'm going for the event, so I can get my expenses and maybe a bit of money on the side, you know. But I don't have to charge Matchek a fortune, which I would normally charge to go and spend my time, because I can justify it with the beer money, the brand money for Windsurfing.TV to go and get some stuff. You know, it does make a big difference, that sort of stuff. So if there's an event in Holland, if there's you know, a reason, a coaching clinic or whatever, because you know what it's like traveling these days, even just driving to France, right? For example, it's 16 hours for me, and France is one of the closer events, you know, 16 hours. My van broke down. I know shouldn't really happen, but that's like another 600 euros. The fuel itself and the tolls were probably 6+. You know, like maybe more. Like the van does like, I'm looking at the thing, it's like 20 miles to the gallon. I was like, oh my God, that's not fucking so, fair enough. You know, then you got to get context anyway. So long way of saying it. If I can justify it, if there's a reason, if I can work it out, I'd love to go to Holland, because I see some of those old events, and I spoke to a lot of the Dutch there. I know how many Dutchies support the beer money fund, which helps Windsurfing.TV. I know how many are commenting. I know how many on the statistics of YouTube are Dutch. And I think it might be the 3rd biggest viewer of Windsurfing.TV Dutch, which how big it is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Netherlands. It's sort of overrepresented with windsurfing. If you look at the population size versus the number of views you get, they're actually a pretty strong, like they're a really strong windsurfing country. So, but anyway,
well, just one more thing before we go there, because I spoke to a few people about this, you know, but this comes up, you know, Brouwer's Dam. I just think it sounds, I've never been, but I've seen the pictures. I know Rick Gendros, who runs it and stuff, and I've seen the events there, and that just looks like the perfect storm to motivate and promote windsurfing from a young age. You've got like a surf club, you've got, the social side of it is just massive. For me, it just looks absolutely perfect, you know, and they're obviously making money. Again, goes back to the organizers. You know, these guys have to make money. You know, this is, if you see the organizer making money driving around in a whatever, I'm happy. I'm like, good. You know, as long as they're putting enough back in to make the event good, because I've seen it so many times over the years where the event organizer starts to do well because they put all the graft in the early days and not made any money for the first couple of events. But then they've got the big sponsor, the whatever. And it's not long before the people turn on them and, oh, he's fucking making loads of money, he's not putting it back in. But they don't see all that graft that they did in the early days and did it for what? Maybe losing money. You know, and then they get the break. Let them enjoy it. Let them make money. We need organizers to make money. It's especially in windsurfing. They are not queuing up. They are not queuing up. So I really feel like these guys need a big up because it's not an easy job.
Yeah. And look, it's windsurfing, so I can't imagine that running a windsurf event, you're exactly you're rolling in millions of dollars of profit, are you? So. Not that maybe you are, Betty, but
look at me. I still wear the same clothes.
But no, I totally agree, and I'm sort of learning. I've thrown myself in the deep end, and I'm trying to get a event organised here in Australia. So it's an interesting journey. Yeah, no, it's I'm actually enjoying it, to be honest. I actually realized I enjoy organizing things. It's a bit like piecing a YouTube video together. It's a bit of a puzzle, you know, you're sort of putting pieces together and all that sort of stuff. And the other thing I like about the windsurf community is if you just put it out there and you tell people what you're doing, there's a bit of a community vibe where the windsurfers like to get together and, you know, lend a hand where they can, or, you know, get some phone calls or emails. Oh, we can do this, or help you here or there. Yeah, it's good. I like that. It's just
talking of which, well, actually, just even dealing with you, I know you're very organized, so I can imagine organized event would be, for me, it'd be my biggest nightmare. I'm like,
yeah, it's not for everyone.
Not for me, that's for sure. You know, like people come and go, oh yeah, you'd be good at that, or you'd be good at that. You're like, that's one thing I know I'd be rubbish at. That's it.
Yeah. Well, you just got to play. You got to play to your.
Yeah, we're going to go through some comments. We're going to go through. I think we just go through some comments because there is a lot of comments coming in. Have you spotted any that are interesting to this topic? We got 100 people tuning in, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see everybody here. Let's have a look. Some of the comments. Okay, let's have a look. The last one here, Bastian. Hi, Ben and Paul. Thanks for everything. Love what you're doing. Wondering what happened with Ezzy not sponsoring Windsurfing.TV anymore, and disappointed about that, I must say.
I will just address that very quickly. I haven't spoke to Dave Ezzy because I wasn't dealing with Dave Ezzy. I was dealing with Graham, and Graham has kind of stepped back from that type of role. So I thought when I had a clean out the other day, I needed to just clean out all the logos, and we'd speak to all the brands from fresh. So that is where I've been at the Defi. Ezzy wasn't at the Defi, but we do have a few new brands on, which is great to see. They haven't paid the money yet. They haven't signed on the dotted line, but it does look promising from a few brands. So stay tuned. You will be seeing maybe a few logos coming on that brand, which is really cool to see. Still no Severn. He hasn't stepped up yet. But we do have SevernShop.com. There has been some confusion with this. SevernShop.com is basically UK based. And these guys support the channel, and they have done since a long time ago. They've actually changed owners, but the new owners are super cool, so they're supporting the channel. But the brand, it really winds me up actually, because I think they're one of the bigger ones in the thing. They've got all the girls, all the juniors, and I do promote them. But anyway, that's just their marketing stance at the moment. I'm not sure why. If you want to send them an email, no, I'm joking. But it's frustrating.
Would you have any idea what effect, for example, SevernShop.com has? You know, they sponsor your channel or whatever. Yep. What effect does it have for them business wise? Do you know?
As far as I know, again, I've not spoke to the newer owners who are the importers in the UK, which is Tushingham. They did, started with Tushingham. Now they've got Severn, Starboard and stuff. But the old ones, I spoke to him quite a bit, and he was super stoked. That's why he ran his competitions, gave away some simmer sales, and he literally was just a shop, getting it from the importer. And he saw the value in it. So, and we've same with Pozo Wins, and every year they come back and support us. So, in this day and age, you can see direct correlation with that. And they also get emails. And thanks to you guys at home, if you bought something from them and you say, oh, thanks, I, watch Windsurfing TV, this type of thing doesn't seem like much, but it's massive for us when we're trying to get this type of stuff going, it does make a big difference. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, just the reason I asked that as well is for anyone out there who's in the industry who might be listening, they probably sometimes ask the question, where do you put your money that's going to give you bang for buck return? So I was just curious. Yeah.
Well, it is difficult. I mean, I spoke to you this the other day about, getting brands to support events and stuff, because the problem is it's not so straightforward. And Windsurfing TV is one of them. Anyone of the brands that deal with me will know I don't say you're going to get this, this, and this. And that's what everyone wants these days. My whole philosophy for Windsurfing TV is we are going to promote windsurfing. We're going to keep the stoke. We're going to try and keep the community going. We're going to inject the energy, because I'm a passionate windsurfer. It's why you're helping with a podcast. You don't even have to do this, and you're here, And I go around the stands, I was speaking to these guys that have been in the game so long, and I still hear them talking about development. And this is what you don't get in these promo videos. Again, when I'm speaking to the brands, you'll see Monty Spindler, you know, Patrice Belliot. When we go and speak to them, they still have that passion, that drive. You know, Andrea Cookie, he's still super passionate about everything he does. The Duotone boys, you know, whatever you think of these guys, they are driven by passionate windsurfers. You know, this isn't the drugs companies, you know, Pfizer and stuff like this. These guys are the bottom guys, the guys that run the company. You know, in Pfizer, there's probably some doctor, drug scientist who is so happy with what he's doing. And then the top guy's just like, yeah, we're going to make a lot of money off this. We're going to sell this to this. You know, but essentially the windsurfing feels like it's run by the guys that do it. You know, I was speaking actually to the gun designer, so maybe they're coming on. And Tilo, who's, you know, young guy running gun with his mom, basically, which I don't know if they want that sort of stuff out there, but I thought, I didn't even know that. I'm like, who do I speak to then? How do we get this moving? He goes, well, the marketing guys. And I was going, oh, I need to speak to them. He goes, well, no, you have to speak to me, because I'm like, oh. But he's super chilled guy. It's so funny when you speak to these guys. Yeah, it's super. You know, sometimes you don't even realize it when you see these big flashy ads and logos and stuff. You don't realize what's underneath. And I think, again, I'm a bit biased, but I feel Windsurfing TV, I can get this across much easier than the brands can. They're going to come across much more advertising, and I don't think that's the way to sell gear. And someone even said it in the comments, and it's how I think. The best salespeople are the ones that can explain it, exactly what it does, pitch where they see it fitting in, and you kind of go, oh, that's me. And then you do your own buying, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good not to push things onto people. So who's your clothing sponsor anyway?
Well, I've been kind of keeping that a bit subtle. I don't really like to, you know, the logos anywhere. Hopefully I'm still sponsored by them, but my boobs is getting bigger as well, so the logo is actually getting more free.
No, I think it's good what you're doing, Benny. I think it's you've done a great service for the windsurfing community.
Let's have a look
on a different. Yeah, I was going to just say, just another comment here. There's a couple here just related to whether you should do live stream or recorded. Jonathan Bates says, I like the live stream only of the races, jumping or riding. Everything else, happy to see as a recording if it interests me. And then,
but that makes sense. You know,
Michael,
people want to see the action live with the excitement. It's happening live. Sometimes when you see it later as live, it's not got the same effect. But I also not everyone can tune in live, so having the rewatch is also big. But
Yep, and Michael Restra basically says the same thing. Agree with Paul. Don't need to have it real time. Wait a day or two with good footage.
Yeah.
So the masses have spoken, Benny, unless someone else has got a different idea.
Yeah, like I say, it depends, because what you don't want, you know, most of the time, if you watch afterwards, you'll be wanting to watch highlights, and highlights is way more hassle than as live. But, you know, if you know the results already, you might not be as interested to see everything. You just want to see the highlights. So there is definitely a difference in that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just looking through other comments here.
Cheers, Derek.
Here we've got Beach Bum Extraordinaire. How about a video either on the pre-race clinics, which I understand was a thing this year, or a tutorial on the race itself, some tips on how to tackle the challenge?
Yes, I would guess the video about the pre-race clinics is probably not out there because they want you to sign up for the pre-race clinics. But I don't know, because I've not been on a pre-race clinic. But I did bump into a young fella who was on it, and I was asking him, and he seemed enjoyed it. Like, from what I can understand, they get a phone call a couple of months before, they meet up, they talk about certain tactics, they talk about some training you could do maybe, and then they obviously do the pre-start, they go sailing with them, they tell them about trying to go faster, little links, because the course is very long and it's quite square, but the wind can move. So for me personally, if you're not, at the top end, getting upwind can be a lifesaver. You just have to be careful with the sandbanks. But going downwind at the end over a long distance for me is a bit easier than trying to head upwind and you stay out of the way. But everyone's got different tactics with that. It really depends on what your goal is. If it's just to finish, if it's to beat someone, if it's to go as fast as you can, there are different things. But it's a good idea. I like the idea of an actual Deafy wind, like just listening, just reading that. I kind of think, okay, the course, and then breaking it up into sections: the start, the first bit, the mid bit, the jibe, and then basically mentality, racing, finish. Because there is definitely some stuff to learn. But my problem is I don't know how to do it. So I don't know if I could make a video. Everyone will be like, that's not what you do. I'll be like, oh, shit.
And since this is a podcast about running events, obviously they didn't have any official race, so we had multiple days of no wind, but obviously at the event they had a lot of on the beach entertainments. I saw some videos there of nighttime things happening, and the daytime there's people milling around. Were people generally satisfied? Like I'm trying to get a sense of what you need to do to run an event. So in this, there's no wind. People are on the beach.
Who are you asking? You're asking the people viewing this now.
I'm asking you. Like, basically, were people happy with the event? Like, do you think they left the event and said, "Well, I didn't get to sail a race, but I was still really happy because I got to meet people. There was parties. There was this and this and that." Like, was that? Yeah.
You need to ask other people that, because for me, you can imagine not many people come up to me and go, "Oh, this event's shit, Ben. Shit to meet you." It's like I see the fluffy end of all this. I see the guys that get. I had loads of selfies with guys and pictures with people and good chats, and a few beers were bought for me, which was quite nice. Thanks, guys. And just I see that side of it. I see the guys in the party who are having a good time. I see that sort. So maybe I'm not the person to ask, because for me personally, I've been to a lot of events, but I feel that is a good event. But again, I'm not an amateur guy who's paid his money, has had to go through all the process. I've had the kind of VIP treatment because I'm doing the media. So, stuff's a little bit handed to me on a plate. I turn up a day before the competition. I got my own car park. This shit is like, you cannot have that from me, because if I was a normal guy and I turned up a day before the event, to try and park in that car park is a nightmare. I've done it, and that's where I've never parked in that sailor car park before. I've always tried to make it, but I've been a few days earlier and it's always been fine. But this year with the winging event going on and stuff, it was rammed. So those are the experiences I feel I can't answer. But I thought from my point of view, I thought the food trucks, the party tent, DJs, some bands, the brands was well represented. I thought there was a few other things on display. Obviously it's very difficult to have a very positive feeling from an event with no wind. Everyone wants to go sailing. If you'd have turned up 3 days before, which most people do, if you're going to the Deafy, it's very rare someone will just turn up for the event and that's it. They would usually go, right, we're going to make a week of it, long, weekend, week, and then weekend. And then you have to drive back early, usually Sunday, because it's like bank holiday traffic and it's a nightmare. So a lot of people did leave maybe Saturday or at least Sunday morning. And that was a lot to do with no wind. So I would say, because there was no wind, maybe 4 days, people were trickling off a little early. Some people wouldn't have even turned up on that forecast. Maybe the local French guys who've seen it before, they might pop up for 1 day, see the brand stuff, see the stuff, and they live close and they just drive back. Maybe some people might not even make the journey because they really do it just for the race, So they're the sort of interesting comments that I want to see. That's what I want to hear from the guys at home, because I can't answer them. It's impossible for me to answer.
No, fair enough. Few comments here from some Dutchies. You can stop in Netherlands on the way from Poland. So many sailors there, it seems. like the world center of windsurf now, plus tons of speed spots.
Yeah, no, there is a lot going on. But you've also got to remember, it's not like going to the Canaries. So if I go to the Canaries, I know I'm going to get wind. I know there's a competition. With Holland, it has to be on a forecast if I want to go sailing. I am super keen to come to, one of the spots when they're working, some of the wave spots or the speed spots, although I might need to bring my Wellington boots if I go to the speed spots. Looks like a mudfest on some of them ones. But like I said, Holland, I'm impressive with Holland.
Max thinks you don't like the Dutch, and that's why you're not going.
I love the Dutch. That's the guys.
I don't know where he got that from.
He's Dutch.
Here's an event. Yeah, Dam X. I've never heard of it. I'll be honest. Apologies. So, have you heard of that event, Dam X?
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's in the
Dam.
Netherlands.
That's the Brouwers Dam event.
Oh, okay.
But this, like I said, this style of event, this style of the way they do it. Again, I spoke to a lot of people at DEFI about this, about windsurfing and how you make it bigger. For me, like that Brouwers Dam, was it called something? It's probably got a name. What Rick does at the Dam X, but the place where they've got the surf club and the shop and the kids clubs and the teaching, this thing, they got knee-high water or waist-high water, and just all that stuff is what is fueling that bottom level. And I think we're going to see much more Dutch windsurfers coming through, not even, wingers, kiters. You can just see it. A lot of them are coming from Holland. So it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. I'm not seeing that as much in the other places. France have been doing it for ages with, sailing clubs, but it's like windsurfing clubs. We don't really have that in windsurfing. We've kind of drifted away from sailing clubs, which I think is a bad thing. I think having that hub, we talked about it on the podcast before, having that social hub where you go and you can have a drink and you get that social kind of thing, even if there's no wind, even if there's a little bit of wind. That's what I remember from growing up. It wasn't a fact that you would look at the forecast and go. You would look at the forecast just to see what you were going to get, and you would still go. Even though the forecast back then were like on fax with some isobars spinning around, and you were trying to work it out, going, oh, it's a 928 low pressure, and that should drift in. These days it's so easy.
Yeah. Look, I'm probably not saying anything overly surprising, but when it comes to events, I think at the end of the day, people just want to have a social, a bit of social connection.
Yeah.
Because, so many of us are now living in our houses, boxes, isolated from one another. So if you go to an event and you've got 100, 200 like-minded people there just chatting about windsurfing, that's a big part of the attraction of going to an event, I would have thought. Just hanging out with other people that share your passion. So.
Yeah. Martin Stevenson says DEFI is an enormous challenge for most amateurs. Paul's event is less of a challenge. That is good. Again, it's a different.
Yeah, maybe I can just briefly talk. Yeah, maybe. Do you want me to just briefly talk about this event I'm doing, Benny, so I can, because I'm actually curious for everyone listening opinion. So basically, I've been involved with Ben doing this podcast and I've been windsurfing for a long time, on and off, but. And I just felt like there was a appetite for an event that was more wave slalom-y based, because you get a lot of feedback from people saying, why is there no wave slalom events? And visually that looks cool and it's fun to participate in. And I'm lucky enough to live in Geraldton. In Geraldton, we've got Coronation Beach, which is probably arguably the best arena for running a sort of wave slalom type event.
Just so I don't know, that's obviously in Western Australia, just in case.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Western Australia. Yeah. It's the main windsurfing beach here, and people come from all over the world to windsurf here. So I've got the time at the moment. So I thought, I'll put my hand up and try and organize something. I thought I could just start small. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but I've started the ball rolling. Of course, as you start it, you go, I could do this, I could do that, bigger, better, and so I'm probably biting off a little bit more than I can chew. However, I'm finding it actually quite fun. I'll just briefly play this video if you haven't seen it. I made like a a concept video just to visually show people an idea. Let me just switch over here for a second. Where are we? So here. Ben very kindly commentated the video, and yeah, so basically in this video I've just got six riders, but in the event I'm planning on having 8-person heats. I'm going to mix the men and the women in the heats, because I think that is just, I think visually that's kind of cool, because all of a sudden, you know, this whole sexism thing, men has to be separated from women, whatever. I just think, you know what, throw them all in together. I'm sure there'll be quite a few women that will they'll beat quite a lot of the men, and I can also just have a separate prize for women that happen to, you know, goes far up into the leaderboard. I won't necessarily have to have 2 different divisions. So the idea of this event is, you know, potentially have a beach start like you're seeing here, and you know, I'll set a buoy up beyond the waves. This video goes for, you know, 5 minutes, so I won't sort of play the whole thing. But anyway, you can set a buoy up beyond the waves, which just looks good on a drone, because there's basically a big flat bay here, which you can build up a bit of speed, and then the waves develop, sort of gets small, and then it gets bigger and bigger out the back. And so I've started the process of organizing this, and it was a little bit scary, because I was kind of like, where do I start? I mean, when you know, I've never run an event before. So actually today was an interesting day for me, because I actually got the green light from the local council. So I had to basically put an application in with the local council to run an event. And that involved a bit of paperwork, and you have to generate a safety plan and different things. I'm not the first person to run an event in Western Australia, so I was able to previous events paperwork and just change details, which helped me a hell of a lot. But anyway, put that application in, and the council's given it the green light. Fantastic.
Okay.
And I've also now I've put together a sponsorship package, because I obviously need sponsors for this event. And yeah, so look, if anyone out there is going to be in Geraldton, by the way, they're going to be the 10th to the 12th of January. That's what's stated
next year, 2025.
Yeah, sorry, 2025. So if you think you're going to be in Geraldton at that time, I'd love you to join in. What is an interesting part of this journey is the event is basically going to be limited to multi-fin wave boards and wave sails. Because for one is just about every single person that turns up at Geraldton is using wave boards and wave sails. I find very few people are sailing around on slalom gear.
So no single fins.
I just thought, well, yeah. Well, the thing is, hardly anyone is using single fin wave boards these days. You know, so, and the other thing is, if I say boards, it kind of evens out the playing field, because if you say single fin, then, you know, generally single fins are faster. So if some person rocks up on a single fin, they'll probably just blow everyone out of the water. Not really the idea. So I'm just basically saying, okay, it has to be a multi-fin board, whether a thruster or a quad. And I haven't nutted it out 100%, but I'm basically thinking to say that the sail has to be a wave sail with maximum 5 battens. Because, you know, there's obviously plenty of sails that have 6 battens that are kind of free ridey, and they have a lot more power and everything. And I don't want to turn this into a Formula One event where everyone just gets.
Well, I personally think you can just go with no cams, because the cut of a sail, in my experience, even in the Defi, it doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, it is kind of fun. I don't think you should worry too much about that, because there'll always be somebody pushing. You're going to have to be a bit careful of what.
Well, yeah, the thing is, though, the reason I say that is because, again, if I, like on a good summer's day, also before I go on, this is obviously how this particular video ends with someone grabbing the handy Andy bottle. It remains to be seen if this is how it'll end up being,
It's
but
going to be,
it might be
Let's
something
face
along
it.
these lines. Well, it probably will, but basically I was thinking of doing...
Could you have a stuffed
like
kangaroo? You have to grab it.
you could have anything, mate. You could have anything. But like there'll be 8 people in a heat, 4 will progress. So top 4 in each heat will progress next heat, and until you get to a final, obviously, and then it'll be crowned the Wave Rally World Champion, which is a bit tongue in cheek. But yeah, but just going back to the sail thing is because when I'm in a Coronation on a summer's day, on a good day, you'll have 50, 60, 70 people out there, and every single one of them is using basically a wave sail. It's really rare that you'll see someone on like a free ridey style sail. So I kind of thought, if I say to people, look, it's limited to wave sails, maximum 5 battens, you're not really going to exclude hardly anybody that's already kind of there.
I guess the only people you'd be excluding is the guys that don't sail in waves at all, maybe.
Yeah, but then I thought, like, okay, but there's already plenty of. I might just stop this video because it's essentially now it's towards the end. Is that there's already slalom events. I don't know how many there are in WA, but there's quite a few in the summer months. So I thought for people that are really into slalom, you've already got that avenue. And I'm going to have to probably draw the line somewhere, because even though this is technically a fun event, I've called it Wave Rally World Championships. It sort of comes with a bit of, like people are actually going to want to win this, basically. Even though we'll say it's kind of fun, people get competitive, like generally. So I just have to. I'm sort of thinking I do need to draw up some kind of it doesn't have to be super complicated, but I just think I want to draw up some kind of rules just to even out the playing field. Otherwise, it's just going to end up turning into an absolute. I don't know. I'm also curious what other people think, but
what happens if someone turns up on a slalom board? And I know what they're like over in WA. They're quite handy with the old repairs and stuff, and they've shoved a couple of like thrusters in it.
Yeah, well, that is a good point, and I've started thinking about that. So. Well, there is a potential solution for that. Well, first of all, most people will have production boards. So I can basically say that, like production multi-fin boards are always generally, they'll be fine. If someone rocks up with a slalom board and stuck a thruster fin box in it, and I don't know if I'm going to do this, but I'm thinking maybe getting a rocker template, like basically some kind of thing.
That is serious shit.
Well, the thing is, I know it sounds a bit silly, but if someone rocks up with a slalom board with a thruster fin set up in it and just blows everyone out of the water, it's not really the idea.
Actually, this is a good one. So this ends the conversation. Someone's just mentioned in the comments, look, no tuttle boxing.
Yeah.
You could sort of go down that route, because that usually is defining if it's a slalom board or something.
But again, like someone could.
Nah,
that's
actually not a bad. That's not a bad call. It's not a bad call.
What's that?
Like the tuttle box things.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you can have a few different rules, but
because the problem is,
I don't want to turn this into like there's a.
I just know how competitions work. People are competitive. So if it's a thruster and you can put a middle fin in, if you put a big middle fin in, a big racy middle fin, you're going to go well, because you can drive off the fin, and you can do that on a wave board or not a wave. Like it's, again, I think you're going to have to just say, look, I'm a dictator here. I will decide. If you think something is pushing the boundaries, send me a picture and I will okay it, because I don't want you to drive up here and it not make the cut. Because you've got a few people who use single fin wave boards, and that's their board, so they would have to then go and find something else. So
well, I know, and like look, there will be certain people that this won't suit, but I think for the masses of people that are here, the rules that I've just said will fall easily within the gear that they've already got. I mean, look, again, I'm not trying to turn this into some overly complicated rule-based sort of event, but I just think I'm going to have to create some boundaries. Otherwise, because you're going to want to turn up at this event and feel like you've got a chance. And if someone's in your heat and is on a board that just blows everyone out of the water, what's the fun in it? Like it's just. So I'm going to basically.
But you still got to race it. Like, could you have categories? A waveboard category and a normal category?
Category? Yeah.
Maybe?
Yes, you could. The only thing is, I was thinking is this event's going to go for 3 days, and let's just say only one of those days is windy, and I'm going to have my work cut out just to get through, say, a wave category, let alone a second category.
No, they just all mix in.
Oh, they're all mixed in.
Pull them out.
Yeah. Oh, look, you can. But again, Ben, I've had a few people say to me this, but again, if I go down to Geraldton on a summer's day, every single person is on a multi-fin waveboard and a 5-batten or 4-batten wave sail. It's not
perfect.
Like if I was down there and half the people using slalom gear and half the people on freeride gear, yeah, sure. But no one's using it there. Like it's just, so I personally don't think this is going to be a major issue. And look, the other thing is if someone wants to get into the event and says, well, I don't have a multi-fin waveboard. I mean, there are quite a few multi-fin waveboards you can go onto the local classifieds here and pick up for $100, $200, some old clapped out thing. I mean, it's
what.
So if you're really
maybe you should have a little like collection of people, because people have got old boards in the garage or whatever. You can have an array of random boards. Just in like, if you haven't got a board, you can take one of these bad boys.
Yeah, well, that's it. And look, this will be the first time it's done. Maybe I would have made some mistakes, but by the end of it, I might have said, I should have done this.
So are you getting much support so far? What's the initial kind of take up? Have you spoke to brands? What's the feeling? People helping out, volunteering time. What's the feeling?
Well, I've kind of really just started this process. I've only just completed today I've created like a 13-page sponsorship document, so I can basically go to brands and shops and say, look, this is the event, and it outlines the whole thing. I've actually created, I'm just going to be completely frank with everyone. Let me just pull this up, since we are talking about actually, can I do this? Sorry, I'm just seeing if I can pull up this document. Where are we? So stop screen.
Yeah, good luck. Sometimes it's a bit of a pain to do that, but maybe if it's a PDF or something, it might work.
StreamYard. So if I go here, just tell me if this is working, Benny. So if I do this, can you see that?
No.
Is that? Oh, you can't see that. Okay.
No. Can just see what you're seeing on your screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how to.
Dodgy stuff.
Oh, I see. It's just mirroring. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Well, basically, I was going to show you the document that I've made, but there's a part where I've broken down the sponsorship into 3 levels. I'm going to have what's first level, which is called a supporter, which is the base level. It's $1,000, and I list what you get for that. Then I'll have, and that'll be limited to 10 available. Then I'll have one called a sponsor, which is $3,000. You obviously get more benefits for that. There'll be 5 of those. And then I'll have a major sponsor, which I may not get, but I'm putting it out there. That's one of those available. You get naming rights to this event plus a whole other bunch of benefits, and that's $10,000. If you add up all those sponsorships together, if I was to max it out and get them all, that'll be $40,000 in sponsorships.
Aussie dollars.
Yeah, Aussie dollars, which is what's that? 26,000 euros, and so something similar in US. But that's absolute best case scenario in sponsorship. I've kind of budgeted for half that.
Yeah,
I think I can get half. Through just the connections that I have with windsurfing industry and so forth. So, but who knows? I might get lucky and get the full amount, and then I can really go to town on the event.
Anyone in Australia want to sponsor the Wave Rally World Championships? Can it work like that? Can we ask people?
Yeah, well, so basically, if anyone's listening from Australia wants to get involved, they can contact me through I don't know,
it's Hotmail
Instagram page. You can do, Yeah, I've got a Hotmail. I'm actually I'm setting up a website at the moment with a I'll have a Wave Rally email.
Can I just point this out? It's so funny. I know we're the same age because we've both got a Hotmail email. And I bet there's not many kids out there. If there's any kids listening, going, what? Hotmail? What's that? That's so funny. I've still got mine. I use it for like separate stuff. Anyway, just made me laugh when I saw Paul Manbell and a hotmail.com.
Oh, hold on a second. Is this maybe? Tell me if this works, Benny. Does this?
Oh yeah. Does that
work?
That worked.
Oh, so you can see that.
Yep.
You can see that. Oh, okay, great.
Wave Rally World Championships 2025.
Yeah. So basically, I've this one I've put here Tilo Windsurfing because I chat with Dione, one of the sponsored sailors, and he asked me to throw one through to him, so I've just titled it him. But basically, look, I've created a document here, the concept, a few little blurbs.
Well, let me read a few things out.
Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking there's a few people listening audio only. Wave Rally aims to be the premier wave slalom event on the planet.
Yeah, I'm talking it up, that's for sure. But
that's why not? Like, it's everything has to start somewhere. That's the thing. And again, you don't know where it's going to go to, I think.
Yeah, and look, as far as I'm aware, there's not too many wave slalom events out there, so it's not like there's not heaps of competition. So I've got here objectives, why this event, why to do this event, which I don't have to go through each thing. I've just written here, windsurfing deserves a marquee event in Western Australia because we used to have the Ledge to Lancelin, which was a mass participation event.
Lancelin Ocean Classic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. Well, yep, that's right. And that fell by the wayside. And there are other events here, but I feel like, there might be a bit of a gap in the market, so to speak. Do you
think you're going to get support from the local sort of council? Is that the right terminology?
Well, that's an interesting one because Coronation Beach actually falls within a different council area to Geraldton town itself. Oh, sure. Coronation Beach is 20 kilometres or 25 kilometres north of Geraldton. So the council in the Coronation Beach are supportive of it, but they're a very small council and they have limited funds, although they did tell me to apply for a grant. So who knows, they might end up giving me a couple of $1,000s if I'm lucky. I'm definitely, though, going to be pushing with Geraldton Council because I feel that this event
benefits Geraldton.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's coming here has to go to Geraldton for accommodation and food and whatever. And also, I just think this event makes Geraldton look good because it's Geraldton in Western Australia has had a bit of an image problem for a while. People sort of they kind of bypass this town. I don't know. It's just been traditionally like that, but the image is improving. And if you can get some good events that, that look good on a YouTube channel or, get people's attention, then that's going to help just the town in general. So I'm definitely going to present something to the council. So we'll see what happens there. Recipients, I've just basically put here who I think the people, the sort of audience that would turn up. I've got some images of just trying to, create a bit of a vibe. This part here is an interesting part. I've written here, event will be run in 5 to 35 knots. So basically, the wave gear, obviously, you need at least, you'll need at least 15 knots, but realistically, you need at least 17, 18 knots to get going for most people. So then I thought, well, what am I going to do if it's under that? Because that is a very real possibility. And as we've seen with the Deafy wind. So at this stage, nothing is set in stone. However, I was starting to think, well, this was actually an idea from a local here. He said, why don't you get some inflatable windsurfers? Because you can actually get some pretty high performance ones these days from different brands. And if I can get 8 of those, I can tell everybody, look, today, sorry, only 10 knots, but we're still running 8-person heats. We supply the boards, you plug your sail into it, and you're racing these things through the surf. Okay.
That's an interesting comment. Just for people at home, does that interest you? Because
Mm.
this is quite an interesting one for me. It's the same with the Deafy wind. You know, there's not much wind, but I tell you what, as soon as there was a tiny bit of wind, everyone's there to go windsurfing, you know. And when you're,
Mm.
I don't mean to be rude, a pro, or you've been in the game a long time, it might not interest you as much. But what interests me was just seeing how stoked people were just to get wet. You know, they might not even need to be planing. It's like we want to experience it. And I think sometimes it's quite easy to neglect that side of it. You know, not everyone wants to go windsurf when there's not much wind. But I tell you what, when you've drove down from Holland, from the UK, from Norway, some guy, I've got a funny story about him. But you know, you want to get on the water. So yeah, but you're not everyone, but it'd be interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, in certain locations, people might look at this and think, "Oh, it's a bit lame," you know, you're just floating around on a sort of this type of board. But the way I'm looking at it is in Coronation, you've got that flat bay, and then it goes into waves. And I'm just envisaging that if you're racing your mates and other people in an 8-person heat, going through the surf on this thing, trying to jibe out around the back and come in on waves. Okay, you're not planing, but I think that'll be a lot of fun, and also it'd probably visually look quite good. Even
are we
on
talking
the video.
about that mega one? Because it's if we are, last time I was on one of them was in Tenerife, and they're like, we paddled out from like the Gorilla Surf Shop to the surf break. I have never laughed so hard in my life.
But when you say mega one, like you're talking about that thing that can hold 10 people on it?
Yeah, it's like 6 people or 8 people or something. But that thing is just funny as, man.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
funny.
Well, I haven't, again, it's not set in stone. That massive one that you're talking about is obviously pretty hard, probably.
It's expensive. But if anyone's got one, let's say somebody out there makes them, or they're part of the importers, get 2 of them to his event in January, because that's like game saver. Like, you cannot not have a good time on one of them, because no one's coordinated. It's not hard, you know, it's just funny. It's like, seriously, if you see one for rent and there's a group of you, go take it, because it is one of the funniest things you'll do.
Well, the thing is, it's an interesting topic on its own, because I'm thinking inflatable, because then you don't have to worry so much about banging into people, and if you get washed in the waves, you know, you're not cracking the board, and they're also light, about 10 kilos, so easy to maneuver around the beach. But as far as this big board thing, you know, like for example, I just looked on the Starboard website. Do they sponsor the channel, Benny? Am I allowed to mention Starboard?
They don't anymore, but they have done, so it's fair enough.
I'm going to mention anyway. But I went on the Starboard website.
They also do it as well, I think. They sponsor the channel.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, I have to look into it a bit more, but I went on the Starboard website the other day, and they've got about 5 different types of these things. They've got like a LT style one. They've got one that's like that mega one that holds like 10 people. They've got a tandem. They even had one I think you could plug 3 sails into. So you could if you know, I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, but basically you could have different categories. Like imagine you had a couple of those massive ones with 10 people, and you said to everyone, look, you got to create a team. And like if you could race 2 or 3 of those things, and you come back and and like, you know, again, it's a bit left field, but it beats sitting on the beach just doing nothing. Like I think it'd actually be a hell of a lot of fun. So, and the other thing about this is that I like, at Coronation, there's always a bit of a battle between the kites, wings, and windsurfers, although the windsurfers generally outnumber everybody else there. But if it's 10 knots, well, the kites are not out there and the wings aren't out there. So if you've actually got something that you can run in 10 knots, you basically will have the whole area to yourself. You know, so I was sort of thinking, so that's another benefit of it. It's sort of showing people that you don't need tons of wind to have fun. Whereas a lot of windsurf events, they're like, oh, it's only 10 knots. What are we going to do? Whereas, you know, my argument is, well, we've got the gears available, but we just don't use it. So that's the general plan there. Anyway, that's a bit of a long-winded story, but that's an important element. I haven't sorted the gear out yet, but that's generally it.
Maybe someone needs to come up with like this massive truck, which is just like the light wind fun truck. And it just gets paid for to go to all these windsurfing events, and everything you need is in this truck.
That'd be cool.
It's just like goes wherever. That would be
Yeah.
pretty nice.
That's cool. Well, the other good thing about those inflatables is, and maybe I'll there's something that it's not going to work, but when you finish with them, they obviously roll up and fit into just a backpack thing. So from a storage point of view, because I was looking at getting some, say, 8 Windsurfer LTs, the problem with that is I have to store them somewhere, and they're quite large. And whereas these things, they just roll up into a backpack. So from a logistics point of view,
Yeah.
it's just so much easier to deal with, and they're significantly cheaper to buy than a big epoxy or board. So
Are
that's
they?
obviously. Oh yeah, well they sort of retail for about $1,000.
Okay.
And that's retail. So if I can, as an event organizer, if I can go to a brand and say, look, this is the idea, if I can get them at cost or something, then it's going to be a lot cheaper than buying.
Tell you what, get 2 of those massive ones, and you will. They'll pay for themselves. You'll rent them out over the summer.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Well, look, anyway, I mean, I'm obviously hoping there's going to be wind, but it's windsurfing, and you never know what's going to happen there.
Taya's saying here we need more stuff for kids. That's an interesting point, and I don't want to forget that. I'll come back to it. But
yeah, well, on that, with this event, the weekend directly after my event is actually the Oceania Youth Titles. So there's going to be the Wave Rally event, and then the weekend after will be essentially the biggest youth event in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'm kind of thinking, well, they'll be catered for with that, and I don't have to worry too much. I mean, anyone can enter this event. If you're a 12-year-old kid, you want to enter, please do. But I just thought that they've already got their own youth event a week later, so at least that's covered. So yeah, on this document, I've got sponsor benefits. A few little details here. This is a container. So Geraldton actually has a windsurfing club on the beach with 2 20-foot containers. So I'll be able to dress them up a bit, with some branding and different things. This is an important element of the event because I mean, you probably know me through my YouTube channel with my drone stuff, and that is my specialty. So I would love to drone film this event in a good way. And the problem with a lot of windsurf events, especially if it's a wave slalom, you're standing there, you see people shooting off into the horizon, and that's it. You don't really see much. So I really want to organize a screen that I can put just next to, say, this container here, and then live feed the drone images onto that. So everyone will be congregating here and can watch their friends and whoever battling out on the screen. This has been an interesting one. I actually found a company in Geraldton that has one for hire, and it's kind of expensive.
I was going to say, how much is it?
Yeah. Well, okay. So basically, if I just got it just for 3 days on its own, we're talking €2,000.
Yeah.
But what I'm now liaising a lot with the youth event, and they like the idea of having it there too. So rather than just me hiring everything for 2-3 days and getting it all packed away, we might actually tell these companies that we're actually going to get a 10-day hire and share the cost between the two of us. And hopefully that will bring the cost down. Like basically just to get it, like the way it works with this thing is if you hire it for 1 day, it's $2,000. And if you hire it for 3 days, it's $3,000. So basically the bulk of the cost is getting the thing there.
Yeah.
And once it's there, then, but this to me will be a really important element, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get that there, because it'll just, and the other thing is I can also then show sponsors on here, and also the IWT, International Windsurfing Tour, they basically use a program called Live Heats. So when you're watching a wave event, you see the scoring on the side, and I'll be able to access that program. So all the heats I can run through that rather than scribbling things on bits of paper. And, basically, on this screen will be full heat structure, and it'll just look professional, and also from whoever's there, it's clear, and it gives them a sense that they're doing something that's, that's well organized. Oops.
Yeah.
So this here, I've just created a projected expenditure and a projected income. It's certainly probably going to be far from what the reality is, but I had to do something. You've got to create some kind of budget. and I've broken down what I need to spend. Some of these things I can probably spend a fair bit less than what I've written here, but I've kind of gone for a worst case scenario. That way I don't have any huge surprises. And this, so basically, a kind of worst case scenario, I've got projected expenditure of 31,000. I think I can do this for probably a bit less, but anyway, that's the number I've come up with. And then the income,
prize money in there as well.
Yeah, so I've got $5,000 prize money. I mean, I've just pulled a figure out of my ass basically with that, but there hasn't been a lot of thought. And I can't. Yeah. I just thought, oh well, 5,000 is probably enough to get people thinking, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then with the income, if I haven't sorted out the entry fee, but I've just put a figure of $100, right? So what's that, 60 euros for a 3-day event. And if I get 100 people, which I could do, it could be more, could be less, whatever. If I can get 100 people paying $100, well, that's $10,000 right then, just in entry fees. And then the sponsorships of $20,000, as I said before, that's if I only fulfill half of what's available. So that if I could get all the sponsorships, that would actually be $40,000, which would turn the income into a $53,000 income.
Yeah.
But I've budgeted for half because I think that's sensible. And who knows, I might not even get half. I might only get 10. In that case, I'm going to have to pare this back down here.
Yeah, but like I said, you've got to start somewhere. And the main
exactly.
thing is to get stuff moving, to see where the interest is. And like you say, you can adapt. Like in my world, I've just realized you just got to go, move, and then adapt. Like
exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of unknowns here, but I just had to put something there. One little important element, I'm doing this mainly for the love of it, but I've put here in the expenditure of $5,000 on wages. I'm thinking that if I can make all this happen and I can either break even or there's a slight profit, I'll probably end up maybe paying myself about sort of 3,000 or 4,000 Australian dollars. So like 3,000 euros for doing this. And I mean, by the time this event happens, I would have spent months of work. So this is not the hourly.
I can tell you now, you need to make money. I mean, not in the first year, whatever, but at some point you have to make money. Otherwise, it's very hard to stay motivated and justify the time. But whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like, hourly rate will probably end up being $1 an hour in the end. You know what I mean? Like but man, I think, but basically I thought, well, I need to pay myself something. Otherwise the whole thing is just so unsustainable.
So Windsurfing.TV.
So I put here wages of 5,000 because I'll probably have to pay some people on the day to help me with a few tasks and stuff like that. Whoops.
Can some people volunteer if they want to get involved in that way?
Yeah. Look, I'll be definitely if anyone wants to help volunteer on the day, I'll probably create a few simple jobs. The good thing about this wave rally concept too is because it's not a wave event, I don't need judges. I don't need a judging tower. I'm going to set it up so there probably just needs to be a beach marshal that watches the people, blows the horn to start the race. And then watches the people come back onto the beach and grab the thing. You just probably just need one person to do that. I'll need someone that manages the laptop for the screen. Oh, there will be a couple of jobs, but anyway. With this, I've kind of projected $2,000 profit. The idea here is not to turn this into a massive money making scheme, but if I can break even, that would be a massive win, and hopefully set a foundation for future.
Yeah. A couple of comments.
I can't actually see. I was going to say,
Robin says the sponsors thing will only work because you are who you are. I reckon big brands are not interested in local events. I wish you luck. Windsurfing.TV will help with coverage and drawing. No, not even. No, I'm joking. Of course, I'm going to help, obviously. And then someone said the secret to success is hosting a fashion show so the local surf shops can promote themselves. Are you trying to say? I mean, when I went to the Lancelin Ocean Classic years ago, there was some fashion.
I know where you're going with this, Benny.
Is that something that the fashion show didn't really have much fashion on display though? There was kind of like it got ripped off. I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
That went down quite well back in the day, but times have changed.
like a stripper show.
Well, the video is
no, it's
from years ago, but I don't think we'll go there yet.
Yeah, I mean the fashion thing. I don't know. In Australia, I don't think people are too fussed with the fashion thing, but it's yeah. Look, there's lots of things you could do at an event that I haven't thought about, and I'm super happy to get anyone's opinion. So yeah, that is the budget. Oh look, there you are, Benny. I thought, you know, just to help the you know, people feel confidence in this whole thing, I've got a few ambassadors here, Benny, Matchek and Jaeger. So that's good. Jaeger, like in Geraldton, Jaeger is a really well-known sort of personality. You know, he's often, especially in the past, has been talked about in the local media here, obviously, you know, winning the Red Bull comp. And so like Geraldton's a town of about 30,000 people. So for them, Jaeger is a big success story, you know, like he's essentially a pro athlete. A lot of success
everywhere, but I'd say he's very big in Geraldton. I also heard he was trying to organise a slalom event, or had conversations with the local councils.
Yeah, that's right. So there has been a few people trying to do something similar to what I'm doing, although it's a bit more of a PWA style event, which may still happen in the future as well. But that kind of fell by the wayside because COVID happened, and then it sort of killed the momentum there. And then this is the part where I was talking about with the different levels of support. So I've just broken it down. You know, it's all fairly straightforward. If you pay more, you get more. Bigger
like
logos,
bronze, silver, and gold sponsorship.
Yeah, exactly. And again, look, I've got no idea who is going to, if I can fulfill them, but I've already had a bit of interest. And I think that if I just keep doing what I'm doing and just keep improving the event and everything, that people will want to get involved. So we'll see what happens there. And look, at the end of the day, if I only fulfill a proportion of this, then I'll just have to scale back the spending, and I can still create a good event, because at the end of the day, a lot of windsurf events are pretty basic. And with the drone, if you can get heats of 8 people on the water and film it with a drone, it's going to look good. Like
but essentially, like you just nailed it. Then it's like you say, that's the plan. You put it in place, and wherever you get to, maybe you exceed it, maybe you go short. But at the end of the day, the event's going to happen, and you're going to do some fun races. That's the goal, and you're going to have it on drone, and we're going to promote it. So that's like the minimum that's going to happen. And whether it be run out the back of your van, or whether it have a big TV screen and it all goes to plan and you get the council support, is, you know, these are all just the bells and the whistles and the bit that gives it that extra bit. But essentially, you know, and I was speaking to you at the beginning, essentially you just saying it publicly, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think that, in my experience, it's kind of how I do stuff. I just announce it on the internet, and then I've got this, okay, well, we're going to do it now because I've said I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Cool way.
Well, a few weeks ago, I was sort of thinking, have I bitten off a bit more than I can chew here? But in the last few weeks, a few things have happened that started to fall into place, and I thought, oh no, this I can do this. So, yeah, it's the problem is when you start something like this, you know, you got a vision, but you're so far from that, you think, I don't even know where to start. But I think there's that old, you know, the saying, you know, every journey begins with a single step, and if you just keep taking a step. Yeah, exactly. Just take one step. If you just keep taking steps, and over a period of months, you look back and go, oh, I've actually moved a fair bit. And that's kind of what's happened with me. And the other thing is, you just try and keep things tight and simple. You know, you don't have to, there's a lot of bells and whistles you can get into, but I'm trying to avoid that a little bit. Just keep, you know what I mean? Just work on the fundamentals and not worry too much about all the little, you know, other little things. And then at the end of this, I've hardly got any photos of myself, but this is a photo with my mate George a few years ago, because I thought, you know, if I'm presenting this to brands, or, you know, in the industry, not everybody knows me very well. So, you know, rather than just be a ghost that you're just sending stuff to, I thought, we'll put a bit of humanity in it.
Yeah.
So I've just created a little bio here with a photo of myself, and that sort of brings a bit of a personal touch to the whole thing. So this whole document is 13 pages. I just sort of done that. So I'll start sending that out. I'll see how it goes.
And
the other thing is
waverally.org.
What's that? Oh yeah. So the email. Sorry, yeah,
Your email.
good point. Yesterday, because Benny, I had here paulvanbellen@hotmail.com. That's my email address. And Benny just said, "What are you doing? You can't have that. That's freaking amateur."
Oh, can I just tell you, this is
Huh?
that is how Windsurfing.TV started. Literally,
All
I was
right.
starting to get busier with commentary stuff, and then someone said to me the same thing as I said to you, K800Ben@hotmail.com. That's not very professional.
Yeah.
And then I went online. I found like a cool email address, which was Windsurfing.TV. So I was like, Ben@Windsurfing.TV. That's quite a cool commentating email. And now look where we are 10 years on. 10 years next year, we are here doing this. So anyway,
it's all about the email, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The email.
So yeah, but well, after you told me that, Ben, I got off the phone to you and I went onto a domain site and registered waverally.org. Actually, that's right. We were talking about it.
Yeah,
I couldn't get .com. Someone had registered .com and they want to sell it for 10 grand. You know, those sort of, they do that.
As I said to you yesterday, I've got this Polish guy who owns Windsurf.tv. And because I was going to shorten the name because the ing was kind of annoying me for doing t-shirts and stuff. It's just a shorter windsurf . And people type that into Google all the time. So I was like, oh, I'll get that. And I spoke to this Polish guy and he's like, no, 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever he wanted. Then it came down the next year, 5 grand. And then it was like 2 grand. I said, look, mate, I don't mind buying it, but no one's going to buy it off you for that much money. I'll give you 500. No, I'm waiting. Yeah. So he still got it, I think. So.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, this Wave Rally, please do not email this yet because I just registered the domain name yesterday. And if the email is not set up, I'm going to create a simple website.
Oh, quick, get it offline. That's going to be.
I know. Anyway, I know. But anyway, it's there.
So what email should they email you on?
Well, it will be that, but hopefully I'll have it up and running within the next week. The other thing, can you see that? Sorry, is that screen working?
Yeah. See that,
cool. For anyone out there who wants to support it, even if you're not planning on coming to the events or anything, or sorry, what's that?
Put the link in the description in case people want to see it.
Oh, the wave. Which link
one.
For which one?
The Wave Rally.
This is the
group.
This is the Facebook page. Yeah. So if you just type in Wave Rally World Championships into the search in Facebook, you'll find it there. And I'm obviously just giving updates and trying to build a community on there. So, yes. So that is basically, oops, that screen has gone all weird, hasn't it? I'll remove that. So I will.
Someone's asking, so Ben, are you going? Well, funny enough, we were talking about this yesterday. It might be tricky for me because I do my Cape Town clinics around that time, but it's not off the cards 100%, but it's not going to be easy. I won't lie.
Yeah, I'd love to have been there. Have you noticed that? Have you seen my nose has just gone super red? Can you see that?
Yeah, I thought it was just alcoholism since you started to organize this event.
No, I've just drunk this new type of tea, and it's just made my nose go super.
If you're listening audio only, I would tune in because that is a red. Coco the Clown.
It itches like hell. So anyway.
Oh dear.
So anyway, also I should mention, since we're talking, this whole podcast is about events here, I'll also bring up Matchek's.
Yes, I'm going to that. We were just discussing yesterday.
So this is Matchek's a few steps ahead of me. He has really created an event that's pretty impressive. kingofthebay.pl is the website. 14 days to go. And so you can check that out. I've actually had a few messages back and forth with Matchek. He's been good. He sort of helped me with a few bits and pieces. So he's doing a really good job there of organizing that event.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, so thanks for giving me the opportunity to at least
take that website and stick Wave Rally in the middle.
Yeah, well, you just reminded me, Benny. Is there anyone out there that's listening to this that knows how to create a website? Because I've actually and who may want to help me, because I I tried yesterday to use one of these websites where you do it yourself, and I don't know, I found it a bit limiting. I was kind of like, I want to do this, and I couldn't work out how to do that. If there's anyone out there that wants to help me, I'm just going to do a simple one, just a simple, page. It's not going to be very complicated. Then yeah, please reach out. You can find me on Instagram, Paul Van Bellen. You can send me a message there, or you can send me an email, paulvanbellen@hotmail.com as well. Yeah, oh God, it's out there. God, my nose itches.
Anyone?
I couldn't see the comments because I had that full screen up before, but have we missed any comments that are
something about a stripper show? That's not what I misunderstood what they were talking about. So it was actually a fashion show they were talking about, not the stripper show that I was talking about.
Let's have a look here. I'm going here. Oh yeah, and also this is ridiculous. Look at my nose. It's so red.
I didn't notice.
It's funny. Jeff has made a point here. He said a group of their peers could judge if it's wave kit. Perhaps the people that come 10 to 15th. Yeah. So that was another thing. I sort of thought if it's pretty obvious that someone is just not playing by the rules, then yeah, you could just have it, because we could all go, hey, this guy's doing something that's a bit nefarious.
Maybe you could put him like in the stocks and then throw stuff at them.
They get a branding. We have like a whipping kind of thing, something. Yeah, that's cool. The other thing, who's it? This person, Wade, has said if you have a thrust away board, you should be allowed to just remove fins and go single. Yeah, well, again, I'm trying to get away from this. It's going to be multi-fin because it just opens up. If it's single fin, then someone rocks up with a free ride thing, and next thing you know, they got a slalom board.
Before you know it, they're in a
I think it's multi-fin. Yeah, exactly. No, I just keep it as multi-fin. I think
Max Beekman said WA, Western Australia Tourism Board are all very heavy on Facebook advertising at the moment. Maybe reach out to them. But that might be because you've clicked on a WA video and you've clicked on a few of Jager's videos, and then Facebook are like, oh, this guy's interested in WA. And it's like, chuck you everything.
Yeah.
Now you've listened to this podcast, you're all now doomed.
Yeah, when someone's asking about freestyle boards, well, they don't freestyle. There's no freestyle boards and multi fins, is there? They're all single fins, right?
Yeah, all single fin.
Yeah. Well, that sort of limits them.
Wide racing could be interesting. It's actually quite funny.
Yeah, well, again, like
you see it with the old Aussies when they're paddling those surf things, and then they get on a wave and they overtake the person in front, or the other girl doesn't body surf it as well. I watched some the other day; it was quite exciting actually.
I did think about that, Borges. The only thing was, if it is actually say 10 knots, a lot of people probably just wouldn't even be able to get through the surf, especially if they haven't brought a super floaty board. So. But yeah, I'm all for that as well. But I'm probably going to end up just trying to get 8 of these inflatables. It'll just be a lot easier and a bit faster racing as well. Cool. What else is there? Oh, yeah, here we go. I like this. JJB, stick to your guns, Paul. Wave gear only. Thank you. Yeah, this is the thing,
But again, if you've got wave kit, you would all say that. I agree. But there'll be probably quite a few from the slalom community, and they'll be like, oh man, we want a piece of this. But I know what you mean. I think it's a good one for the first year, and then you can adapt. It depends how successful, depending on feedback. That's the thing with this. As long as you're not, I like the idea, stick to your guns, but at the same time, I think you've just got to be open, but not crumble under pressure, but just be open-minded and then adapt to whatever feels right. But at the moment, I see where you're coming from, and it makes sense.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, even though some people have mentioned to me, oh, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? I'm like, well, look at the other side of the scale. You've got a slalom event, and that is a lot more exclusive than what I'm asking.
Yeah.
In a slalom event, you need the latest and greatest gear, and it has to be multi-cammed freaking, you know what I mean? Like, that's way more exclusive than what I'm asking. So in a
Robin
way,
says
because
it's just about the experience and the camaraderie for most. Have fun, meet people, get wet. I 100% actually, funny enough, Derek says he 100% agrees with Robin. And I 100% agree with Robin as well, because that's what I take away from the Defi. I try and portray that in my videos. And it's not just a forced thing. It's genuinely how I feel. The race is hard work. And I'm never sort of quiet about that. It's not easy. If you're not used to racing, and again, I was used to windsurfing, but I'm not used to racing that type of distance. I'm not built for it. I'm not used to the equipment that I use in that race, all those things. But that's not the fun bit. The fun bit is the moments in the race. But the real fun bit for me is the chit chat afterwards, and the stories, and the like tales of woe, and the tales of like, oh, but I got him in the end, or I didn't get, I'm going to get you next race. That's for me the real fun about the Defi, and it happens in every race. It's very rare you will race a race without engaging with someone on that course. I mean, you always have this one or two people that you have this kind of battle with, and that's the Defi. Obviously not talking about the wave rally now, but that's the kind of feeling you get from those type of events. And again, all the other stuff around it is amazing, and it helps add to the experience. But effectively, if you can just get an organizer that can organize an event where they just organize the racing like that, we should be able to do the rest. We shouldn't expect the organizer to hand everything on a plate. Yes, that's great, and it does add, and it gives another, but we can't get to that point where we're getting to in life now, where, you know, we're happy with one thing, and then once we've had that, we want more, we want more, we want more, we want more. And then it gets to a point where you're like, well, I can't give you any more, you know, like, stop raping it and enjoy it for what it is. And that can't always be handed on a plate. Again, maybe that's just my opinion, but I've seen over the years, I've raced my whole life, like 30 odd years, and I've seen how things change and how people just want more and more, and they want everything on a plate, and then they want to blame someone for it not being good or not being up to wherever they need to be. But take it for what it is.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate as well, everyone who comes to Geraldton, all the traveling Euros that turn up here, they're not turning up here with slalom boards. They're not turning up with even free ride gear. They're all turning up on wave gear. They just are. Like, so I don't even think this is going to be much of an issue. And then the odd person who says, oh, this is unfair, I've only got free ride gear. I'm like, well, sorry, mate, there's 5 other slalom events you can do if you want. Like, you know, I'm trying to do something just slightly different. So I'm going to have to just draw up something. Otherwise, you know, someone here wrote, so Borges, he said, I think you should make it any board, but no cam sails. All wave sails would dig out fast old slalom boards. Yeah, but again, then, you know, most people on wave gear, the odd person on a slalom board, and they just smoke everyone. And yeah.
Or do they?
Well, it's true, but you know what I mean? They probably would. Yeah. They probably would. Like, it's just the reality of it. Duffer reckons, you know, put them all out there in formula gear. That would be interesting. Robbins asked, do you camp in Geraldton? Yeah, so for anyone that might be thinking of wanting to join in this event, at Coronation, there's actually a campground right there in front of the beach. I say campground. They're essentially, it's like a dirt campground where it's dirt. It's not like a big grassy sort of area, but you can either sleep in a van or pitch a tent or whatever you want to do there. And then also in Geraldton itself, there's multiple campgrounds that you can stay in. So a lot of people, when they come to Geraldton, they stay there. Also nearby Coronation, just down the road, there's another place called Goodies. And they're a lot of windsurfers stay there. It's a bit cheaper to stay, and it has like an outdoor kitchen area and stuff. So there's quite a few options to stay there. Derek has said, good man, Paul, like you said, you're not going to please anyone or everyone, I guess. And the way that worked for me in the past to counsel the complainers is to tell them they need to be on the committee for next year. Ooh, yeah. Well, that would open up. But yeah, good point. Good point.
No, but it's like the same. When sailors complain about the judging, it doesn't always work. But in the best case scenario, you get them to judge for a few heats, and it would sort them out. Because as soon as you have to do something yourself and you realize how hard it is and how not straightforward some things are, which look easy from the outside, it soon sorts your mindset out. There are usually in these days, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, there's a lot of people who think they can do a better job or complain about certain things. But a lot of the time, these are the guys who will never, ever step up. Like, you know, if they are stepping up and they're saying, look, I don't really like this, but I could help sort it out because I've got, you're like, okay, fair enough. But when people just go, oh, that's shit, that's shit, that's shit, you're like, okay, it's quite easy to listen to that.
If people start complaining, though, I don't know if I'd want them on a committee because they probably end up being a pain in the ass. But Max is, I'm just going through these comments because they're interesting for me. You know, I've been just solo doing this, so it's cool to hear all you guys' opinions. Does Geraldton have a tourism board? Maybe worth getting them involved. Local hotels as sponsors. Anyone who may benefit from an influx of windsurfers, for sure. I'm definitely going to be hitting up different organisations in Geraldton. I haven't done that yet, but that is on the agenda. Yeah, what else is? Oh, sorry, we've already seen. Oops, we just saw that one before, didn't we? Yep. Oh yeah, so this one, Mintox. Ace, he said you could use LTs to race if the wind is too light. An LT in the waves would be challenging and hilarious. I looked into the LTs. The problem was I contacted the president of the LT class in Western Australia, and all the LTs are privately owned. They don't have like a shed that has 20 of these things, or 8 for that matter, just sitting there for anyone to grab. So that's one problem. That basically means I would have to purchase 8 boards, you know, so that's a big expense. Another thing with the LTs is they are fragile. Actually, they're not like the old Wallies that were plastic. Now these are overgrown epoxy boards. So if you bump into someone, there's a very real chance that you're going to crack a rail on them. And if we're racing these things through the surf, like if you had a private LT race where everyone brought their own, awesome. Like that would be amazing. But if I have to buy 8 LTs and have multiple heats of people using and abusing these things through the surf and just watching them slowly just sink, it's probably not, not very, it's just not doable. And the other thing with them is at the end of the event, I've got 8 LTs potentially that I'm going to have to store, and, you know, I don't have space at my place. I'd have to find somewhere. So the inflatable thing, I think, is just makes a lot more sense. Essentially, those inflatables,
you'll get your money back because you can rent them out.
Oh, well, that's that.
Sell them.
So
from the Coronation Windsurfing Club, because that would be such a funny thing to have there.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'll definitely look into it. Like, again, this is I'm really going to need some industry help. I have to get to these brands and just tell them the concept. I am happy to pay cost. Like if they can offer me boards and say, look, it costs us X amount of dollars to produce these, I'll be happy to pay that. But if I have to pay retail or whatever, like it all ends up just being crazy expensive. The other thing is, for anyone who's in the industry is listening to this, there's a benefit for the whole windsurfing industry for showcasing this, because if I can run an event and show people around the world through the YouTube channels that you can run 8-person heats through waves on these, say, inflatable boards or whatever it is, then people will sort of think, oh, I could do the same thing where I am, and or just shows people another type of windsurfing that we just don't see much of, you know. So therefore it sort of expands the industry a bit more, because most windsurfers, if we're honest, like especially in my windsurfing world, we need at least 15, 18 knots before we even think about going anywhere. Whereas, you know, if you're seeing images of people having fun in 10 knots, that's really the low, like that's where windsurfing needs to improve its image. I feel, you know, it's
I just saw a comment just as you were talking. I didn't want to miss it because it actually might solve your problem. Well, for discussion, limit the fin size, because if it's a multi-fin board, you can get away with small fins. If you put a small fin in a single fin, it won't work.
Sorry, limit the fin size if single fin.
Well, so let's say, like,
I see. It's a big fin.
You look at the fin size in a quad fin, right? The maximum fin size. You doesn't even 14 centimeters. If you put a 14 centimeter in your single fin slalom board, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I like
yeah,
but
but again,
it's much easier. But I just thought that's quite actually funny.
Yeah, but the issue again is like I'm playing devil's advocate here. You're at an event, say 100 people turn up. I don't really want to have to go around
measuring fins.
And they start measuring everyone's fins and shit. And then next thing you know, you measure it, and that guy goes back to his car and then screws in a bigger one. And I just I just think, look, multi-fin boards again. Look, again, honestly, when you go to Coronation, 99% of people are using multi-fin boards. If there's 70 people out there, they're all on multi-fin wave boards. It might be different in other parts of the world, but just unique to Coronation, it's not going to be an issue.
I mean, the only thing you say is there is faster multi-fin boards than other boards, but again, these are just nitpicking.
Yeah.
And you've got to have certain rule because freestyle wave boards do also have multi-fin boards, but they've got a much faster rocker. But that's at some point, like you say, you've got to draw a line. You obviously wouldn't turn up to the event on your Who Keeper banana board. It's not going to be the winner.
Yeah, but I thought about this. I mean, I don't think there's going to be heaps of people that are going to spend $2,000-3,000 just to buy a board for one event. I mean, like there might be some, but I don't think that's going to be a big issue. And secondly, from a windsurf industry perspective, I see a lot of people down at a place like Coronation, which is not exactly a down the line cross-off spot, and they're on boards that are probably not best. Like they'll buy like a really hardcore down the line board, thinking that's the cool thing to get, and then use that at Coros, and you're sort of watching them thinking you'd be way better off on a slightly less radical board. You know what I mean? Like it'll go faster, it'll get planing quicker, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of the idea with this event too, is to sort of get away from this idea. It's to sort of show people that, well, maybe you don't need the most radical wave board just for general sailing. Maybe go for something that's a bit more, you know what I mean, has those other attributes as well. Anyway, that was just a little sideline thing.
Or you do like a lottery where you have you have 8 boards and then you have to draw a thing out. It tells you what board you get. You're like, boards. No, I'm joking. I'm just thinking.
Well,
funny.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I had thought of that too. The only issue there is if you give people boards they're not familiar with, then I'm just wondering they could end up not enjoying the experience because they're kind of like, I don't like this board and.
For the pros, it would be kind of a funny concept where you'd have this kind of random element to it, but it's not. I was just saying it for fun because it just popped into my head.
Yeah. Robin's saying wave rally needs to be 20 knots or over 20 knots. What's your thought? Well, again, like I said, for the short boards, I'm gonna need at least 18 plus knots, but I'm really
bear in mind just for people who are not
familiar.
No, just bear in mind for people who are not familiar with the spot, it's a windy spot. That time of year, you should get wind. We're talking about it. But you never know. As we all know in windsurfing, you never know. But normally, that time of year, it should be pretty okay.
It should be, but this year, with weird weather patterns we've been having all around the world, from mid-December to mid-January, there was basically a 4 or 5 week period where it was 5 to 10 knots every day for 4 weeks straight, and 40 degrees. It just went super hot, and it was windy down south of Margaret's, but up here, it was literally locals had said they'd never seen anything like that in their lifetime.
Yeah.
But basically, so after experiencing that, I was like, I definitely need to think of something because that could easily happen again. And look, it's cool. I reckon it'll be fun.
Don't get bogged down there. I think that's the bit that can change or whatever. The main thing is you just crack on with the whole concept, and then you just iron out those things if you see better solutions come up.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be flexible, but at the moment, those inflatable things seem to be the best solution. I've got here Dave O'Riordan, who said, I have 8 of those inflatables that I use as a mobile school. The logistics and the prices are definitely much better. So that is cool. Alex is written here, in my opinion, a live stream is not necessary. I really like the concept of 1 video a day, even after the event. Some professionals at the event are definitely a good thing. Keep it up. I'm assuming that's related to your Defi Win thing, Ben. So that was, I think
if we smash out everything that we've just done in a day or 2 days live streaming, not everyone can keep up, and then you get overwhelmed, and then you just give up because you're like, oh, it's too much to consume, and it's everywhere, and it's massive. Whereas, like I said, we changed it around this year to do these 1 videos a day for the next couple of weeks after the Defi. And I think so far, just looking at the numbers, looking at interest, I think it's already going down well. And comments like that kind of make me think, yes, that is the right way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So cheers, Alex.
Dave's said again, an inflatable board and rig costs less than 1 normal free ride board alone. That was the other thing I thought was interesting when I was researching these inflatables. You can buy like a whole pack for like $1,000. It's got sail, mast, boom, the whole thing. So, for people who are getting into it, it's, it could be not a bad solution. Max, apologies for me scratching my nose. God, it's just so itchy. Max Speakman, Paul, I'm sure you could crowdfund this to get it off the ground with a worldwide windsurfer appeal. Well, first of all, I'm just going to go try the traditional route, and if I could maybe think about that. That's not a bad idea. Robin, I hope you don't mind I'm going through these comments, but I'm finding them really interesting. Robin, the sponsor thing will only work because sorry, we got that one. Fashion show, not a stripper show. Ben's not going. It'd be good to have some commentator. Ben, I'll have to kind of get you there. Cape Town. Cape Town would be an awesome event for Wave Slam. They used to do that in the past, so that would be another one. Hopefully people can get that. Vincent, talking about websites, Google on sports event template for WordPress. Okay, I will do that. Thanks, Vincent. Thanks, that is a good idea. What else? What do we got here? Light wind racing. So there's a few comments here, isn't it? Oh yeah, so Billy said, hopefully next year will not be another El Nino year. No wind here in the UK. Yeah, so fingers crossed there, mate. So ones said the whole thing is inflatables.
No, you caught the end of the conversation.
So sorry, this is just a light wind alternative. Cool. Vincent, the last comment here, if your event fun factor is main target, then have a no-win program, party tent, gear show for the brands. Everyone will have fun. Yeah, so basically I will create a schedule which will include a nighttime sort of party and various other things, keeping people happy during the day and that sort of thing. So I haven't quite got to all the details, but that is the general idea. But thanks for giving me the opportunity, Benny. I know we're both involved in this podcast, but it's super cool that I can present this to the wider world because I definitely will. I can't do this alone. So if you're listening in Australia, 10th to the 12th of Jan, 2025, if you want to go to a fun event, have a think about it.
Maybe you have some website people out there might want to give you a hand, because I know when you know what you're doing, it doesn't take long. When I set up Windsurfing.TV website, which I know is a shit show, but I literally just was Googling everything and working out how
that's what I'm doing.
You end up with it, but some people can definitely give you a hand. And again, some people might not, but you never know. There's no problem in asking. We have quite a good windsurfing community, and I think quite a few people like to help out especially if that's their field of expertise. Yeah, and if you've got any, if you know anyone to sponsor the event, or maybe just put in, could be some sort of little bit for a little shout out or whatever it might be. I think get in touch with Mr. Van Bellen, Paul Van Bellen at hotmail.com.
I'm just going to get full of spam now, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the comments.
Yeah, it's Vincent. What's he said here? He said, as the other guy said, you can hit me up for the site. Is he offering to help me build the site, or
how do you spell Van Bellen?
How I'm reading it. How do you spell Van Bellen?
2 E's. That's it. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
I've just put it in the comments. Is that right?
That's it. Yeah, that's my email. So if anyone, like I said, I'm just looking for something simple. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but if anyone can help me, that would be amazing. But Benny, what do you think? Have we got anything else to add to this?
I just, like I said, what someone mentioned it earlier, having some sort of event template would be really cool. Like, I think it's like, it's almost like, and you in my head, you would change the budget, and then as you lowered the budget, the list of things that you had to provide would disappear. You know, so so literally, if you had the zero budget, that would be the minimum you need for an event to be successful. And as you got more budget, different things would increase. Would be quite a cool. I could imagine it being really quite cool. You know, you get this budget, you're like, oh, we can add a party, or the party maybe is essential, or you know, whatever it might be. We have categories, we have prize money goes up, or would be quite cool.
Yeah, no, that is a good idea. You know, that would have helped me a lot, but luckily I was able to get some help there with various things. But
here we go. This is what I was. So this is what started this podcast. Chris Bentley saying, "Defi Spirit is awesome, built, but I fear the event is now emphasizing the VIP/Pro. I would like the focus to remain." So please explain to me, because obviously, if you were at the event this year, that obviously must be a thing, because like I said, I saw the comment on the website. Please explain exactly what you mean. What the normal guy this year, what changed? Because the only thing I can see what changed is there wasn't much wind, so then you don't get that constant whatever. But it'd be really interesting to know exactly where you think it changed this year, because I didn't see it. But obviously, if enough people are saying it, maybe they felt it. And I addressed the bit about the start line and the practice day, which, again, the event hadn't officially started. And that has been going for years, just no one's paid that much attention to it because there's always been wind in the event. So it's never had that much focus on it. But if you haven't listened to the early podcast, maybe it's worth listening to it. But I'm genuinely interested to see, because like I said, I don't want that rumor, that comment, that thing to kick back too much momentum without any substance. But if there is substance, I think it's worth addressing, and I think it's worth the organizers knowing. Anyway, that's just, again, my opinion on that.
Yeah, cool. Dufficor, I have to address this comment. Is it Dufficor saying another web development here? Happy to pitch in. Mate, if you want to help me, I'd be stoked to get... yeah, no, that's cool. Send me an email, Dufficor, and like I said, it's not going to be anything overly complicated, but it's not my strength building websites, so it's all a bit slow.
I will say he's very organized.
Well, yeah, which is probably just as well, because running an event like this is it all gets a bit pear-shaped pretty quickly. Ones, I think the inflatable windsurf idea would beat the wing foiling in competition for audience because the gear is cheaper. Yeah, and like I said before, in 5 to 10 knots, the wingers, as far as I'm aware, they're struggling to even get going anyway, unless you've got some super specialized gear. So we'd be the only ones on the water, which is just another good showcase for windsurfing, I thought. So yeah, but awesome. Yep. Oh, hold on. Another comment here. Marco, need an iOS app. Little too much probably, but I would love to help. Wow, an app. Well, I haven't even thought about an app or if I even need one, but if you want, you can, again, send me an email and maybe see if it's something that I actually need to look into. That would be amazing, Marco. So thanks, mate. The main thing for me right now is a website, but yeah, cool. All right. Well, what do you reckon, Benny? We wrap it up?
Well, I might just ask for a few other things. I need a car. I need... no,
you need some more beer money?
Always. No, actually, to be honest, after the Defi, that was quite a long week. You can imagine with no wind. And we were busy working. You'll see the videos, but I would just say stay tuned to the channel. Lots of kind of gear reviewy from newer brands with kind of mini podcast feel, van sort of reviews, and we've got part 2 of the other video coming up, which is basically, again, we did the Hall of Famers were all there, you know, Pete Cabrina, lots of other people, you know, we had a couple of them have already been on the podcast as well. So Brian Talmer was there. I mean, there's too many to even mention. Peter Tom was there. Loads more. But my idea is, just to give you an idea, I spoke to Mr. Van Bellen about this, the Hall of Fame, it's never got the credibility, and Jonathan Weston was the guy who kind of created it, and he stepped down now. Cliff Webb has taken it over, who has done a lot of work, 1080 Media, with windsurfing over the past. He's actually come back into the fold with Peter A's sort of live stream more recently, but he's taken on this sort of role as the president or the chairman of the Hall of Fame, which is basically every year they will put new people into this Hall of Fame, and it's basically to give recognition to older windsurfer inventors, ambassadors, lots of different categories. But I think it's super nice, and seeing those guys in there at the Defi for this kind of announcement, like I said, was really interesting. So my idea now is to get hold of Cliff. I've spoke to a couple of, you know, we spoke to Pete Cabrina. Actually, Paul was the one who sort of pushed that one through. But that's kind of made me think, right, we could just go down this list of Hall of Famers and be like, right, next on the Hall of Fame podcast, we've got, you know, whatever. There we go. You know, Brian Talbot.
That's super. I'm super excited with Pete Cabrina because, yeah, he's a legend. He's a legend out there in windsurfing world. Obviously got into kiting later, but I'm actually really curious to hear that story because so we're sort of chatting with him at the moment. So hopefully we'll get him on the next week or something like that. Another one that we spoke to recently was Rhonda Sanchez. Sorry, am I getting the name? Rhonda Smith Sanchez. Apologies. Not everyone may be aware of her, especially if you're younger, but she was pretty much a top windsurfer back in the early 80s. And I briefly spoke to her on the phone the other day, and she shared some amazing stories from back in the day. So I'm really excited to get her on as well.
Another one I spoke to him. Man,
okay,
so funny, some of the stories. If we can get him on form, Finian's coming on the podcast. From the story I heard about him and Pascal Macca and Bjorn Dunkerbeck and going for the world, you know, speed record and this chop breaker, and Bjorn wouldn't let him into his competition, and then he booked out like the French channel. Then Bjorn rung up 2 days later to book the channel. It was already booked by Finian, and then there was just classic. You know, when Finian's on form, telling a story, and Pascal Mac is there like backing up, and then you know, lots of other stuff. But there's some good stuff coming. Just stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Nice. All right, guys. Well, what do you reckon, Benny? That's it. We're done.
Yeah, that's it. Wrap it up.
Thanks everyone for your comments. I really, really appreciate it. It's given me some more things to think about. So look forward to updating you as things come to hand. Until next time, I hope you get some wind, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress, in the house is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the wind biz, the brand's gear tips, plus the world's best quiz. Cars PWA, we're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat, it's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.